Okay, welcome back to Son of Taco Tuesday. We finished eating. Had a little chat with the owner, as we sometimes do. Gotta love daylight savings time. It's darker now. A really nice day, really cool, calm, beautiful day. And then now this cool evening. I love this time of year at times, especially after the heat. It you know how it is. You have different times of year that you really like. I like summer. I love spring. This is another one after summer and the dog days of summer. I love this cooler weather. To give you a glimpse, and yes, we ate some chips, Mark, but this is the aftermath, the wreckage. And of course, there's my favorite. I like to show this stuff off. Look at this. This stuff is great. I've pushed this before. This stuff is great. I call it Mexican pickled red onion. And it's not that hard to make, and it's very good. And as you can see, there was quite a bit of damage done. So here we are. We're back. Come on, man. There we go. We're back. So yeah, I invited some people. Don't know if they're gonna come, but I sent out invites. Because, watch me, damn it, I'm needy. No, I'm not. I really don't care. But I have fun doing this for some reason. I really enjoy doing this, going online. The time we live in, the miracle of technology we live in is just amazing. It's just amazing that, that we live in this time with everything that's happening. And see, I can watch down the road and see if anybody's sneaking up on me to not do anything to me, because I'm just so paranoid and I'm so bloody important. If anybody saw that little live shot earlier this morning, that was I was in the living room. I'm watching TV on my laptop, posting my thankful, gratifying comment of the day, which I posted something about 7 days ago, to invite everyone that wanted to join in to post every day something new, but what they're grateful for that day, or what they're grateful for, and maybe even or post a quote on gratefulness or gratitude and thankfulness. And so far I got the attention of a couple people, but if you do decide to join now, you can still join as far as I'm concerned. But if you want to join in, you can add her, invite, you can start, and if you would just tag me, so that I kind of see it, or I'm aware of it, because I'd like to know what's going on. I think it's kind of fun. I did it last year and found it very, very difficult to do. You start out with maybe some really big things and some great things, and you end up with running out of things to be grateful for until Thanksgiving dinner's over with, and there's major gratitude there at times. But I think we learn something about ourselves. We learn more about ourselves. We learn more about each other and the way we think. And I think that's a blessing. That's a definite blessing to all of us to join in and to become part of this community, especially right now after recent events in Texas, um, it's so sad, and mental illness really just really tears a hole in all of us, just anybody that's around it. I mean, I live right next to the Santa Ana River, and I don't know if you can go online and you can look it up and you can look at what's going on the Santa Ana River, and there's a lot of homeless there. I mean, there's always been homeless kind of like camping out in the riverbed or under the bridges and whatnot, and now it's just like they cleaned them out of there, they pushed them out, and they pushed them out on one side, and now on the bicycle trail side there are hundreds and hundreds of these people with their little camps and their tents and their makeshift cities. If you like history and you always wondered about this, like when great armies like Napoleon or Sherman or Grant and Lee moved through a town or whatever, the Spanish coming up, there's a marker further up the river that's a landmark to some Spanish explorers and where they made camp near or whatever. But if you go along the series, like if you're thinking of a military campaign and you're moving a large mass of troops and a huge army, if you look at the river, wherever there's big open spaces, they filled in, and they're broke up, and so I figured for strategic reasons or whatever, in a situation like this, what a way to do that. You're moving your troops along this narrow path, and you're coming to where you need to encamp for the night or for a few days to recoup and rest and resupply and take care of some of your problems, like with your wagons and your livestock and whatnot. This is what you would do, and you would break it up into little groups that protect each other, and then they run pickets but they're spread out, so that the enemy, if they attack, they don't get everybody, but they can try and get small groups or larger, because there's big encampments. There's just big encampments, and of 20 or 30 or more people, which guarantee is not the same kind of numbers as you would with a major army, but it's just it just made me think of that, that this is the homeless march from the sea to inline, and which is just, it's sad to see. The cities, Anaheim has made some proposals, and they're going to take care of some stuff, and Orange is really concerned about it, and Santa Ana is trying to motivate and do things all the way down to Huntington Beach and further up. I'm sure, I haven't ridden the trail in a while, so I'm sure this goes on past Anaheim up into Yorba Linda and Placentia and whatnot, all along the river trail. I don't know if it goes all the way into the canyon, but this is some scary stuff, to be honest with you. To be honest with you, the way I look at it is these poor people. I mean, sure, drugs is responsible for a lot of it, and a lot of them are on drugs and alcohol. They're self-medicating because overall the big thing there is mental illness. Some people have come to like the freedom, I guess, or the lifestyle. Others have lost everything, and this is what they're reduced to. But if you look at the ingeniousness and the building and the hoarding that these guys do, and what's going on down there, you're just like, oh my God, this is an organized group that unfortunately is on the fringe of our society, and it's not good for them. Sure, there's probably some violence within the groups. I mean, wherever two or more are gathered, I guess, when it comes to human beings, there's going to be some sort of problem. But there are predators on the outside. Let's call them predators, because that's what they are, that are preying on these people, for whatever reason, for the joy of violence, for the joy of whatever. I mean, there's men and women, and there's even some children. I've seen seen a lot of women. Some of them stick together. Some of them camp a little separately and a little more hidden behind some bushes and whatever. But it's just messed up. It's just wrong. What can we do about them? You know, what can we do to help them? I don't know. I'm at a loss. You know, there's all sorts of other problems. There's the pollution that they're creating, the solid waste, the body waste that gets into that river, and when the big rains come, it's going to get flushed out to the sea, which I don't want to see, you know, and that means more plastic and other crap into the ocean, you know, and we're trying to keep that clean. We need to create something along that river that stops trash at points. I think there's also a need for building cisterns along sections of the trail and along the river, the sides of the river, and digging them in and allowing them to fill during those periods of the year, and then using that water, reusing that water to water along the trail itself, or like water the trees and the plants and whatever, you know, that don't take it from you and I. And I mean, look, a bunch of trees and some bushes and whatever, they can use gray water. They can use this unpotable or undrinkable water, and yet try to also create that a way that it goes back into the water table, and by pumping it out of these cisterns at points, even though in the cistern it could get in, but out of it and into the surface and watering these plants, it's a little bit water that can percolate down, you know, and eventually does this. When you water your lawn, it happens, you know. But this is what I'm trying to get at, you know. There's ways around it. I think there's ways to logically approach this from an economic and environmental condition to save water along the river, and then we can work on and try to do something about these indigenous or these destitute people. I mean, it's sad. It's sad. I'm not a fan of big government. I'm not a fan of higher taxes and money going to foreign countries that hate us, that are dictatorships, that are just screwed up, and that we keep as alliances because of geopolitical reasons. But I would like to see that money go away, maybe reduce some of what we put into the UN, and let the world, you know, if the world really wants a UN, let's let them help support it. But it go back into the country, into education and into mental health and things like that. We're going to always need a military. There's no way around it. They need to protect our borders, and they need to protect us. And maybe, you know, what would the left say and the anti-war people say and whatever if the United States did not go into a country to help? I mean, when we went into, I was against it at first, and then I learned more about it. I'm just like, oh my God, you know, I thought Bush was like going to stick Clinton with a war, but he didn't, and he wasn't. He was trying to do the right thing by the people of Somalia and Mogadishu, and try to get the UN relief supplies to those that need it, rather than going to the hands of these warlords and these just like bad people. And it's much like, you know, I'm sure that when Clinton gave North Korea those hundreds of millions, it was to help relieve famine and help feed the people, but it went into nuclear research. Let's face it, it gave them the money to build a bomb, and those people still suffer. And that's what I'm getting at. You know, someone once on this page, a guy named John Gordon. I'm going to call you out, dude, even though we're no longer friends, but I'm going to call you out, and I hope somebody gets a hold of you. But he said that every war after the Second World War was silly. And I thought about it, and I never got back to him on it, but I should have challenged him on the fact that Are you saying that the United States denied the people of South Korea the right to be kept in the dark and be led by the Kim family? You know, is that what you're saying? You know, they needed Korean socialism and a dictator and poverty. I mean, you look at there's some great pictures of the Earth from satellites of the lights at night. And you see the Korean Peninsula, and the lower half is lit up, just lit up. There's so much light, you can make out the borders and everything else. But at this line of departure, you can see the lights of Phnom Penh, and you can see some small lights. But there's maybe a dozen or so, and the country is really in darkness. And that, to me, means no heat. No electricity, no nothing to these poor people living in these indigenous farms that just are starving. They're starving. You know, of course, there's no internet. You know, well, there is, but you know, it's not much, and only the elite can get to it. So, but that's my point. I think the United States, and some people have said this, that the United States has done more for people around the world than you really want to realize, and what the left denies us of, and Antifa and a bunch of those people that just say that we're the worst. But they've tried their best to try and help people around the world to shake off the shackles of slavery and of indenturement and of, you know, totalitarianism and dictators. And yeah, we made a lot of mistakes. We've done some stupid things. But, you know, we tried. Has anyone else? Since the First World War, Europe was screaming for us to join in on the First World War. And the United States wanted to stay neutral. And they said, no, that's Europe's fight, man. You know, Europe is worried. That's their problem. We'll just stay with the United States, and we'll just take care of our people. And we got involved anyways because we were dragged into it by violence and by the threat of invasion. And if you don't believe me, look it up. The German government was trying to help Mexico, or was providing Mexico with a deal to arm and finance an invasion of our southern border, military invasion. I'm serious. And that's what really did it. It wasn't the Lusitania was good for the public, and it pushed us to the edge. But the government started to look up and say, no, we can't. You know, even Wilson says, I can't be peaceful if this is going to go on. And we got some people coming out, so hold on. Hello, gang.
Hi, how are you?
I'm here, enjoying my day.
Yeah, good.
And anyways, hang on, I'll switch back. Boop. Anyways, invite you, Thomas. That's what happened. I mean, you know, and since then, America has tried to bring a democracies and freedom to the world, and human nature has, I think, is the biggest culprit. You know, people being people, and it sucks, and it truly, truly sucks that we have that kind of mentality going on in the world. That you know, you try to help a guy. Look at South Vietnam. We tried to help them, and the guy came in. Was it Park or Ho or whatever? And he was president of South Vietnam, and they were talking about free elections and whatever. And the guy pretty much became a dictator and a pig. And yet we were trying to help them and keep communism out of Vietnam. Good question is how many people died after we left, and when the North came in. So, you know, they violated the treaty. They came in and they took it, and the people of this country didn't want to fight anymore. And that's sad. It's sad for them. But I don't think. I mean, you can say that, and I was even one that said it at one time, that the only reason we went into Kuwait was for the oil. Sure, it stabilized world oil markets, but they were invaded by that nut job over there. I mean, they decided to just take them and says, I'm not going to just steal your oil, I'm just going to take your whole country, and everything in it. And, do you stand by and say, hey, you shouldn't do that? If you look back at history and you turn around and you look at the Second World War, how Chamberlain said, no, you shouldn't do that, but, you're going to be peaceful? Okay. And the appeasement went on with Hitler, and actually they could have ended it when he went into assault, was it Alsace-Lorraine? And took back that old property in the first move. Had the French done something about it, they would have run into a German army that was weak and unprepared for war, that hadn't trained enough and hadn't produced the kind of battle plan that they used later on when they finally, 4 years later or something like that, or 6 years later, and used to invade France in 1940. So, or 39 or whatever it was. Think about that. I mean, history does repeat itself, and when you appease some of these people, look at what you get. People are yelling about Trump in Korea, and yet, how long have we been dealing with that jerk? I mean, technically, we are still at war with them. You realize that? We are still engaged in a police action against North Korea, because all we have is a ceasefire. We don't have a peace treaty. It's just hey, we're no longer going to shoot at each other. And that could change any moment, at any moment. So with that, I guess I'm gonna leave you with, try to join in with the why you're thankful each day, and tag me in it, and think about some of that stuff, and think about what's going on in the world, and what we can do better. I mean, here's a question. Should America get involved with Venezuela? Okay? Or should the UN do it? And ask the United States for assistance after they go in and physically disarm the government and start providing security and food for the people. We'll gladly ship tons of supplies. We will gladly take some of our warships and help produce power, just like they're doing in Puerto Rico. Trump doesn't like Puerto Rico, but Puerto Rico, it was a shithole. I'm sorry, but the power system, it's amazing it didn't go out in the first hurricane. It's amazing it didn't collapse a few years ago. It's amazing it just didn't collapse without a hurricane. It was in such a poor state. So, I mean, I think about those poor people in Puerto Rico, and I think about those poor people in Venezuela. And I think if you're an American, whether you're a conservative, well, if you're a conservative, you do worry and you do think about those people. If you're a leftist or Antifa, you don't give a shit. You really don't. You want to raise hell, and you want things your way, and you want it only your way. Only. Freedom of speech for you. If you disagree, no. So, hey, one thing to pay attention is Dennis Prager is going to speak at the U of Wisconsin. I believe it's U of Wisconsin. And they're threatening a riot in a Milo Gallipoli type response or event. And this is from a college professor, one of their professors. And to be honest with you, I don't care if you got tenure or not. You come out and state that you're organizing a riot, basically a riot, or like a kind of event that equals Berkeley. You just surrendered your job. You just promoted violence on a college campus, where a college campus should be a place to learn. And what you learn is not just my opinion. put their opinion as well. You learn both opinions. You learn those, you listen to the facts, and then you make your own decision to be the person you are. So, Alicia is watching from, and bring her on camera. Okay, I'm going to add you, Alicia. Welcome. You just showed up toward the end of my rant on events of the world and being thankful and grateful in the world, which, it's coming up. Thanksgiving is coming soon. We're going to sit down with our families, and we're going to, many of us are. There are many that won't. Those are servicemen deployed and whatnot, and emergency people, and I'm I'm going to add people that work for Disney because it's a holiday, and people are still going to come because they come now from not just various parts of Southern California and California, Arizona, and all of it, or anywhere in the United States that came out here to visit the relatives and enjoy Thanksgiving, but they come from India and China and Japan and other places in the world where they don't celebrate our Thanksgiving. I'm sure that every one of those cultures has their own harvest tradition, but that means that's not what we do, And they're here from around the world, so they're here to be entertained. And that poor company, people that work for that poor company, are asked to say to their family, I have to work Thanksgiving evening, or I have to work Thanksgiving Day, and which is hard. They used to close early on that day so people could go home and eat with their families. They used to do the same thing for Christmas Eve, so you could go home and at least spend part of that holiday with your family. But business and traffic and whatnot has prevented all of that. So I don't know. Enjoy, live long, and whatever, multiply. A lot of you, hello, Chris, Key, and Abernathy? I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm trying. I'm a poor reader. I'm a guy who does read a lot and pays attention and reads newspapers and books and watches the news occasionally. But I'm not a genius. Just a man, just a humble man that really does want to see peace in the world, but doesn't care does care how we get it. I do care how we get it. I think it's important that it's done, that we do come into this world. Oh, hey, Kellyanne. Now I'm starting to get an audience as I'm leaving. I've been on this damn thing for too long and using up precious data, and now I'm getting a following. I wish somebody would say something, say hi, or give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or any other digit that's appropriate for this. I'd go back and watch the whole thing afterwards. So anyways, God bless. Enjoy. And Taco Tuesday was, as you can see, a roaring success. There were many casualties. Shells were devoured. Filling was consumed. Salad was tossed. And I even ate a few chips, sitting here by myself, enjoying the evening. So God bless y'all.